team building. There were things that we really didn't expect. And what these projects involve is us going in, having the kids make all of the puppets, and there's some puppets in the back room if you want to look at them during the break. And then they do everything. They put the whole show on. And out of that comes a huge amount of confidence and confidence in team building. It's really quite amazing for 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds. I'm reminded that this is about money this evening, so I just want to talk to you very briefly about what our financial model is. We go into schools and we expect the schools to pay for what they're getting. We may have to help them raise money to do that, but that is the starting point. However, we have some core costs in the middle, and it's very, very difficult to raise core costs. Nobody wants to pay for the ability to deliver the projects. What we're looking for at this point, only being a very young charity, is just enough money, basically £2,000 to £3,000. We'll settle for more if you want to give us more. Really to give us some breathing space, because unless we get the core cost funding sorted out, we're going to be in trouble. I'm asking in a sense for core funding, but I'm asking it specifically so that we can get our act together in that domain, because there's no point being able to offer projects if we don't have the money to run the process. The particular problem, in a sense, that we are solving starts with the Department for Education, in that they measure everything by those SATs results. And there are an awful lot of kids who really struggle with maths and literacy, and it is shambolic, really, appalling, that the Department for Education doesn't take into consideration the fact that getting kids to do other things, be it art, music, manual things, are actually the source of them being able to become good at the stuff that Michael Gove wanted us to measure. Now, the kids struggle partly because they're not being allowed to shine at the stuff they're good at, but there's also a lot of things that come into a lot of kids' lives, and although one tends to think of St Albans as being lily-white and middle class and not having any social problems, actually that's not the case. And the kinds of things that we come across routinely are, for instance, English as a second language, which is getting more prominent, of course, at the moment with refugees and migrants coming in. Learning difficulties generally, ADHD and dyslexia, lack of parental support, which I find gobsmacking sometimes, and kids having to deal with the most dysfunctional family structures you could possibly imagine, or not imagine. Discrimination of various sorts, disruptive behavior, which collectively causes a real problem even if it starts as something small, and all of that leads to a lack of confidence. So what we do is we go into schools and we run these huge projects which do cover art and DT curriculum, but which branch off and do all kinds of much more difficult things. We give the kids the permission, in a sense, to just try difficult stuff, temporarily to fail, and the basis of the success is their realization that they can do stuff. And once they realize they can do stuff and their belief in themselves goes up, then all of a sudden, lo and behold, the maths and the literacy gets better. So these are big projects. We go in September and we're there until June at the end when they put a big show on, which is totally self-run. There's a student stage manager, student lighting, student everything. There is an adult, usually me backstage, or one of my colleagues, just making sure that health and safety is adhered to. But basically, we just let them get on with it. And it's quite magical to watch, because these kids have never worked collectively, and suddenly there's 27 or 30 of them backstage, and they're all doing their bit, and it clicks really, really nicely. Our feedback mechanisms are primarily, well, it's mostly qualitative at this point. This is the kind of feedback that we get, the testimonials from the kids, and also from the parents, and also from the teachers. The best measure of what we're doing, that we're doing something worthwhile, is the renewal rate, the schools wanting us to come back, which right now all of them want us to come back. They can't all afford it, but that's a slightly different kettle of fish. There have been anecdotal cases of really serious, significant jumps in attainment during the projects. And with that, I want to hand over to Michelle McDonald, who is the arts coordinator of one of the schools that we work with.
So we ran 2 projects this year, which were both inspiring and just absolutely creative and amazing. It extended the children so far beyond what I could possibly do as a basic class arts teacher. They were overseen very professionally by the project leader, and all the materials provided were professional. They were including a stage that you will see on the video back in the back room, a high standard. Our catchment area is ethnically diverse and generally disadvantaged. All of our children became rapidly engaged in the project. Many of them would come up into the art room over their own lunch break, after school, working on their puppets continuously throughout the year. They were inspired to take huge pride in what they were doing. I found it particularly gratifying that the projects drew in our less able children. For instance, we had a girl arrive through the autumn term, first part of the year, absolutely no English. She made the most exquisite puppet and proved to us to be the absolute best puppeteer. That level of engagement and involvement was absolutely outstanding, and we welcome the project back next year.